Welcome to the NABS podcast. NABS is the support organisation for those working in advertising, marketing and media. I'm your host, Louise Scody. Each week I'll be chatting with someone from our industry to find out how they support themselves and those around them through challenging times as well as the day-to-day. And it's all to help you support your own mental wellness. I can't wait to start chatting. Davina Barker is DCM's Sales Director, responsible for evolving DCM's commercial strategy. Davina is responsible for developing DCM's relationships with media agencies across the UK to raise the profile of the medium. This led to DCM being named Commercial Team of the Year at the 2023 Campaign Media Awards. Davina has also been honoured as a member of the Media Leaders inaugural Future 100 Club in 2022. She was named Commercial Director of the Year at the 2019 British Media Awards, and in 2024 she was named one of Campaign's 40 over 40. As if that's not enough, Davina is an active member of WACL and MIFA, and she sits on MIFA's advisory council as well as Great Ormond Street's marketing advisory panel. Welcome, Davina, to the NABS podcast. How are you today?
I'm really well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
That's an absolute pleasure. That's a lot, Davina. This is a lot. How do you squish that all in?
At 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, plus being a working parent.
Exactly.
So we always start off by talking about a mental wellness challenge. So can you tell us about a mental wellness challenge that you've had to face?
Yeah, I thought this was a really interesting question when you said we were going to talk about it, because I think I would consider myself to be in the very fortunate position of not suffering with my mental health and not having, an official or unofficial diagnosis in that area. Which, is a really fortunate position to be in. But I think when you start to think about it, we all perhaps have mental health challenges, even if we're not recognizing it at the time. And I think the thing that it might cause me a lot of joy, but also causes me a lot of costs me a lot of energy and impact on my mental health is my lovely, gorgeous, but very chaotic family. My immediate family is very nice and tidy and small. I just have one child and a husband, so we're really tidy. My broader family is big and complicated. We've got steps and halves and adopted and neurodiversity and kids at all different ages, and even right up to my husband's grandma, who is 108. You name it, we've got it. We've got the range.
Is she really?
Yeah, she'll be 109 at Christmas. She's amazing.
That is spectacular.
It is spectacular, but it's just a lot. And I think particularly when you work in an industry like ours, where it's not really 9 to 5, it can be, there's a lot of creep, there's a lot of evenings and events, and most of your family don't necessarily know that or understand how that is happening, that it can be a lot to deal with. And as much as I love them, I have a lovely coach who helps support me, and she often says, God, your family is a bit like EastEnders, a bit less shouting, as much pub, but just the chaos of it. And I think it's interesting balancing that out of work noise, constant big noise, that can be challenging, and you don't necessarily realise you're doing it all the time as well. And it does drain your mental well-being and your energy, as well as also lifting it up on the flip side, because they are a joy. So I think that's probably the one that, for me, and I guess for loads of people, it's not a unusual challenge to have, is it, these kind of family dynamics these days?
No, but it is unusual for people to talk about that in the context of it being a challenge for your mental wellness. So I'm so glad that you raised it, because a mental wellness challenge doesn't always have to be this big, obvious thing, although, yes, it can be, and we're here for that too. But that constant kind of worry about your family, or the constant questions or asks for help that you might get from them, I can totally see how that would drain you a bit as well as lift you up when they're doing well. Are you the person that they come to when something's going on and they need some advice or some guidance?
Often. I think it depends on what it is. I think different members of the family probably play different roles. We definitely draw down on my mum a lot, all of us. But yeah, I think so. I'm the eldest of my siblings, so I think that naturally puts a dynamic in there. We were adopted, all three of us together. So I think that also brings a slightly unusual sort of closeness, that because we've obviously been together beyond our parents, and so there's lots of different things at play. I quite like that they come to me, as well as it taking your energy. I still, it's actually What an honour and a pleasure that you can help, hopefully, sometimes. So yes, I guess sometimes we are, but it really depends on what's happening and what the requirements are. My younger sister is much better if it's more healthcare related. I'm too squeamish to deal with anything like that. So I guess it's a real balance of everyone playing their part and hopefully no one person being the drain or the problem. But I think you all take your turns, don't you, at different points?
Well, hopefully you do. And if you've got it worked out in your family, yes, I'm good at X and I'm good at Y, and everyone knows where to go. That's actually quite a good way of sorting things out. How do you
I'm
think
not
it?
sure it's that perfect, but
Oh,
it's a good
okay.
theory.
Scratch that. Well, that's the
Sometimes.
ideal. That's the
Yeah.
ideal to work towards for next year.
Yeah.
How does the constant noise of this affect the way that you show up for work?
I think I have got good at compartmentalizing. And I know that people find that hard. And some people don't always agree with it. And, when people talk about bring your whole self to work, I get it from a being comfortable in your own skin and your own personality. I don't want to bring all of it to work. I find that actually having some degrees of separation sometimes is helpful. Even as someone who's quite open about these things, sort of if I can leave certain bits and then come back to them later on in the day when I'm back from work, I find that works better for me. But I know not for everyone. I like the distraction of work sometimes when when things have been more challenging. We've had some bigger things going on. Um, Actually not having every waking moment thinking about that challenge and getting that gap can be really healthy. You know what it's like when you have a problem at work and you're all trying to think of an idea or a solution and you just can't in the meeting room, can you? You can't come up with
Yeah,
anything. Then
yeah,
someone comes up with something when they're walking the dog or they're in
yeah,
the
yeah.
shower and I think it works the other way as well, that work can be the stimulus and the interesting thing that gets your brain away from the challenge at home and then gives you a bit of perspective to go back to it.
I think that's a really interesting reframe and a good coping mechanism. So, seeing work as almost the refuge, as you say, the distraction, somewhere where you can go and be your professional self because you don't have to think about your family issues 24 hours a day. And just trusting that somewhere in the back of your mind, a solution to the family, whatever is going on, is going on, it's percolating there. And then you can come back to it later when you're feeling refreshed.
Exactly. You can't give the same energy to one thing all the time. You need a break.
No, you do, and if you try and do everything at once, then you will end up driving yourself crackers inevitably,
Absolutely.
even though your family is like EastEnders. Um, so another thing that needs a bit of survival mindset is Q4, which we are in. It's November, people, and the season is busy, and especially in Adland, we know that this is a really, really, really busy time. And it is one that causes a fair amount of stress for people as a result. So, as a leader and as a seasoned Adlander, what are your Q4 survival tips?
I think there's a few things. I think that alcohol is tricky, and this is from someone who likes a drink. So I'm not saying don't go near it, but I do think the volume and the pressure of socializing can be a lot. I've really noticed a lot of people more recently just swapping in a bit of not zero alcohol. Um, Products, whether that's for one night of the week, whether that's every other pint, whether that's all evening, just giving themselves a break. And everyone's really accepting of it in a way that I don't think they were when I first started in the industry.
Yeah,
In fact, most of the time, no one even notices. You get a decent poured non alcoholic beer and no one would know what you were drinking. So I do think just being conscious of your consumption can
yeah,
help because
yeah,
it's very easy. And as I say, this is not someone who is preaching from a position of not having got this wrong a few times, but just being conscious of it and limiting it because it does become a lot. I think the other thing I've really got better at is thinking about what I'm going to.
yeah,
So I love our industry and I love the social side of our industry, but you can get to the end of Q4 and think all I've done is socialize with work. Now, some of it is good and that's healthy, but sometimes I was getting to a point where I was going, I haven't got time to see my friends and family. And I've not really achieved anything here. This has just been a jolly for, 6 weeks. So I think I started to set myself a little bit of an objective. I am not so head girl that I go in with a big long list. But if you can go in thinking, I am going to go to this event and meet one new person, or go with an idea of I want to see that person to just mention this, or just have a tiny. It doesn't have to be huge, but a small objective. You can come out of it feeling like you've achieved, as
Yep.
opposed to I've just been out on the piss again.
Yep.
Um, which is then you get into a vicious cycle of, oh, what am I doing and why am I doing this, and shouldn't I be at home? So I think that is one thing, and I also think it helps you get better at saying no to a few things. So if you are looking at something and go, actually, I'm going to go to this because I really want to see so and so, meet so and so, say thank you to someone, whatever it is. But actually, what is this one going to do for me?
Yep.
It's much easier to go, actually, I don't think I need to go to that one. And
Yep.
also to say to your boss, your peers, your colleagues, whoever it may be, that you feel you're justifying yourself to, I'm going to go to A because I think I can do X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to go to B because I don't think there's as much in it for me, as opposed to, yeah, I'm just picking and choosing. So they would be my things. The other thing I think that is remember in the background. Someone pointed out to me the other week about Christmas. No kid remembers every single last matching pajama, table setting, what the wrapping paper looked like, whether it matched the cards. All they remember is a lot of fun and joy and presents. They don't
Yep.
even know what's in them. So if you think back to your own childhood, take the pressure off yourself. It doesn't need to look like the beautiful ads like the M&S one that came out this morning. Doesn't need to look like that. They don't remember any of it. They remember the feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you can just be there for them,
Yeah.
then that's a really treasured memory, isn't it?
Rather than being so frazzled about which paper's matching which tree decoration, they don't remember any of that.
You heard it here from Davina. Forget the tablescaping.
Yeah,
Don't stress about it. What ab
exactly.
and what about the fact that the workloads are really intense and the client deadlines are piling up, and then you've got this background of, yes, you've chosen wisely which event you're going to, but maybe you're out 1 or 2 nights more than you'd like to be during the week. Then you still have to get up the next day and face this big workload. What are some tips you've got there for kind of getting through and still being able to perform and contribute and be creative?
Take a break.
Yeah.
However busy you are, people think it's a false. No, it is a false economy to not take a break. I can't think what the expression I'm looking for is, but 15 minutes, walk around the block,
Yeah.
little bit of fresh air. You'll be twice as productive, and you're just a bit like we were talking about at the beginning. You take your mind off something, you come up with something better,
Yeah.
and I think you become twice as efficient as opposed to plodding through it. So, but it is a lot. There's no getting away from it. It's the industry we signed up to. It's the job that we do. There's no point pretending it's anything other than that. But I think if you can just, yeah, one quick lap round the block, some tiny bit of fresh air, even if it's London traffic fresh air, it's still,
Yeah.
it is different than being in the lights and the air conditioning of an office.
No, I agree. That's my non-negotiable. Whether I'm working from home or I'm working in the office, I have to go for at least one walk a day, preferably with a podcast such as this one. Not that I listen to myself. That would be weird, but you can. Yeah, it just really does refresh you physically and mentally, doesn't it? So that's a great tip. Now, DCM is one of our fabulous donating companies. You do loads to support NABS, which we're so, so grateful for. Because if we don't have any supporters, we don't have a NABS. This is how we exist. So talk to me about how DCM donate, why you donate, and what you will get out of it in return.
I think there's quite a lot around NABS that I think is so important, and I am surprised more people don't get involved. Because I think it is so important for the health of our industry to have an external, independent body and resource that you can use. So whether you're in a big organisation or we're a sort of a medium-sized, smaller, whatever, you can't have an expert in everything in your business. It's just not possible. And even if you did, they're still your employers, and sometimes people just need that separation. So for us, NABS provides loads of advice and support that we just can't literally get enough of in our building. But even the big guys, I think it's just a different perspective and space. I mean, a lot of you will know my boss, Karen Stacey. She has a lovely expression about these things, which is, frankly, if you can, you should.
Yep.
And so that can be anything from, we donate media space and via partners generate revenue that way. We get involved in. I love NABS Walk and Talk. I think that is one of the best initiatives that NABS have done in a long time. It's a lovely, lovely thing to do, even if we did take it a bit seriously and treated it like a race, which I don't think was quite the premise. But I think that's a brilliant initiative. There's a fitness challenge thing that the guys are looking at doing in January. There's so many
Oh,
different ways.
yeah.
Yeah, it looks terrifying, not for me, but so I think there's so many different ways you can get involved. And I think the other way that people can get involved that they don't realise the impact of is if you're comfortable and you've used NAB services, talk about it.
Absolutely.
Talk about it to your peers who might need them, but also your manager, your boss, people who support NABS. If they hear that their staff are using it, that the value it's providing, the different perspective, it's another reason for them to fund it.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, I appreciate a lot of things NABS do are really confidential and you don't want to discuss. But the things that you can, tell people how great they are, because that is still adding value, even if you aren't in a position to fund things. So, yeah, I think it's a brilliant organisation, and hence why we love to get involved and support, because I think it just does so much for so many different parts of the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's loads to pick up on there. So, to just explain a bit further a couple of the events that Davina mentioned there, Walk and Talk it literally is what it says on the tin. We go for a walk across wherever, it might be London, and we talk as we go along. So, this year we had some brilliant senior industry leaders giving mentoring sessions. So, there was mentoring on the move. And then other people came with their teams and they used it as a chance to just kind of catch up and walk and enjoy some fresh air, like we were talking about before. A chance to kind of get out of the office. And I mean, how did you all feel after you did Walk and Talk? What did you all get out of it?
It was great, and I think the thing is, you can come the mentoring. I know a couple of people did the mentoring and loved it. What a lovely opportunity to talk to those brilliant senior people in a relaxed, easy way. We didn't come with this is about, fixing our mental health and a big
Yeah.
thing. Just shot the shit a bit, and
Yeah. Yeah.
the joy and the space of that is amazing. Both, so we did it last year for the first time, and with the intention of talking to lots of people in the industry, and we did a bit of that. But actually, what was great was with the team, just having that space, and some of it was work. But again, when we were talking earlier about you get an idea or you kick things about a bit, it's so different when you're walking along, different scenery. So the team loved it. I think more of us did it this year than last year. I think we'll get even more of them next year. And the other thing I would say, the tip is when people look at it and go, oh God, I don't necessarily know I can walk for 4 hours. Some of them didn't. Some of them
Yeah.
ducked out after 2. That was fine. They jumped on a tube, had something to go to be at, but they still got the benefit of a bit of time and a bit of space. So I loved it. Thought it was brilliant.
Lovely. It's a kind of thing that gives you a fresh perspective on your work and your team dynamics. So I'm so glad you all enjoyed it. We'll pop a link to that in the show notes. Then the other event that you mentioned was
The fitness one in January.
the fitness one in January. Right.
Ooh.
So this is really, thank you. This is really, I need to go on a memory challenge. So this is really exciting because we've got one of our fabulous Adlanders organising this for us. There is a fitness challenge called the Ethics Games, and the Ethics Games are working with NABS. So you can become a team member and you join a challenge. You can either do this challenge for 24 hours straight, or you can do the challenge for 2.5 hours. So we're going to pop a link to this in the show notes as well. And the challenge is basically like if you're familiar with High Rocks or CrossFit, it's very similar to that. And it's all about raising funds for NABS. And it's really interesting because of the link between physical health and mental health. So it's a really good fit for us as well. It's also taking place at the end of January when everybody wants to get fit.
Yeah. And I think there were options to do it in pairs or
Yeah,
individuals
absolutely.
and different levels of it, weren't there? So, because I looked at it and went, holy moly, not a hope. Some of them are a bit more attainable depending on your fitness levels. Obviously, some of the boys in the office were straight up with, I can do the pro version. I was thinking, got to help you. But I think it's really interesting. And yeah, definitely got a lot of people chatting last week about it.
Oh, good. I'm glad. And it's also important to say we can accommodate people of all different levels of fitness, and we can also accommodate people who are working with different abilities. So have a look at the link in the show notes and then see if you want to lift some kettlebells to help raise money for NABS, which is what it comes down to. Now, you were voted one of Campaign's 40 over 40. So, this is one of the industry lists where people who are aged over 40 doing fantastic things in our industry are heralded and applauded. As well, you should be, Davina, because you do a lot. Now, it's interesting because there's a lot of concern around ageism in our industry as well. So, it's interesting to have this list. What's your take on ageism in the industry? And how do you think that we can be more inclusive and supportive to older employees? Because Adland is connected in a lot of people's minds with younger people.
Yeah, and look, I have to admit to probably being as guilty of not thinking of this as much as probably I should have done. So when my head of marketing said, "Oh, we're thinking about putting you in for 40 over 40," and I was like, "Oh, please don't. I'm not sure I want to go out there and tell everyone I'm over 40." And she sort of cocked an eyebrow at me and said, "I think that ship has sailed." And she was like, "We can tell you're over 40, you wear trainer socks still." I was like, "Well, at least you said about my socks rather than my face, so I'll take that." So yeah, I was equally guilty. I was a bit like, "Oh, I don't know, it just doesn't sit that comfortably." But actually, when you look back, I've loved my career and I've really enjoyed what's happened so far. And I feel like there's loads more I can do, loads more to give. And so maybe you should be a bit more embracing of the list, and hence saying, "Go on then," sort of slightly reluctantly. But I do think it's an interesting challenge. I do think the way everyone is working has changed massively.
Yeah,
And when my daughter's only 12, so we're not quite at the what do you want to be when you grow up stage, apart from anything, her answers are anything to do with horses as opposed to really thinking about careers. But I do think that talking to nephews and stuff who are a bit older, people don't do the same job forever anymore. You
right.
I don't think we are, and they are approaching their careers with, "I want a 40, 50-year career." I think they're thinking much more about, "I'd like to do this for now. I might change, I might adapt, I might retrain." And so I think the way the much younger people are talking about their careers actually might feed in really well to people as they mature, in that people will be more accepting of, "Well, no, of course I haven't just done this since graduation or since leaving school. I was a chef for a bit, and then I went off and was, I don't know what else, a million other things, and I've retrained." So I really hope that that actually makes it less of an issue about when you do these jobs, and it's just about your particular life stage. And as I say, I weirdly think that it's going to be the younger generations who are making better space for people to work later into their career, because they go, "Yeah, why wouldn't you come and do a different job now?" But but it is a challenge, and you do look around and go, "Oh, I'm getting towards the upper ends."
Yeah, yeah,
Where did everyone go? I do think as well, perhaps there is a legacy thing of people have just got to work longer these days.
yeah.
So, maybe a few generations above us were leaving younger because they could. Well, none of us can retire at 55 anymore, can we? So I think there will be just a natural change. And we should treat it as seriously as we do any other um, um, characteristic at work. It's not okay, but it's to be ageist, but it's just highlighting it. And I think one of the things that's really good about our industry is we are good at highlighting things. So there was a piece in Campaign, I think, last week about ageism, and I was
Yeah.
like, interesting. I love the fact you're having the difficult conversation, because a lot of us are probably just not thinking about it. And that's not okay. So, but I think the more we talk about it, the more aware people are. Um, and the better things should get. It
Yeah.
works in every other sector.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'd be interesting to think about some of the reasons behind it. So you said before you look around and you think, oh, where's everybody gone? So where has everybody gone and why have they gone?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. I think people um, you just could retire earlier. Let's be honest. The cost of living, the world, everything, everyone in every industry is working longer and for more years. I don't think that's unique to us. I think there's the stress element of our industry has probably people have been got burnout and things we were talking about earlier. Again, we're talking about it so much more than perhaps we were 10 years ago. So hopefully the work that NABS does, the fact that people are talking about it, the advice that people are getting, and I think people are just generally much better at acknowledging their mental health and thinking about supporting themselves. I think we have become more flexible to the most part. That also helps if you've got caring responsibilities,
Yeah.
aging parents, etc. There's more space to allow for that, and people are much more accepting of people doing things differently. So I think there are lots and lots of things that point to the positive of it being better.
But managers really have to put in the work as well, don't they, in order to support their staff members? So let's say you're managing a team and you have a combo of people who are, say, 45, 48, and you've got some 25, 26-year-olds on there as well. What would your tips be to create an inclusive atmosphere where everyone can be their best?
I think, I talked earlier about not always wanting to bring all your home life in and not over. That doesn't suit me always. But I think if you want people to accept what you're dealing with, you have to share something. And so if that is that you've got caring responsibilities, I think you have to admit to some of it. The details and the level of it can be absolutely private, but you can't expect support if you're not, if people don't have any idea what's going on. And I think showing some empathy, saying, for example, they might be starting coming back as working parents and
Yeah.
going, God, yeah, that's tough. My tough is slightly different, but I get your tough. And just showing that there's some similarities within there and being open about what is happening at any given point really cares. And I also think it's a bit of calling it out.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let someone say a racist comment in a meeting that I was
Right.
in. You just would not have it. And we have to be braver at saying that's not okay. If it's a inappropriate and ageist remark. And I think often over the years, you've seen it, whether it's been someone being homophobic or racist, you need to call it out. And often they don't necessarily have as much bad intent behind it as it sounds. And once they know, they go, oh, God, yeah, I can see that. Just hadn't thought about it. So I just think it has to go in the same camp of these are unacceptable things. And as a manager, you have to be prepared to stand up for things.
Completely agree. And now is a great time to mention our Managers Mindsets training program, where we give people that education and that insight into how you create open atmospheres, inclusive atmospheres where people can come to you as a manager and have a chat about what's going on so that you can best support them. And you don't have to have all the answers, do you, Davida? You can signpost.
Absolutely. And do you know what? One of the best things about our industry is we are really diverse in so many ways. And we talk about so many, whether, like mental health or supporting women and gender equality or working parents. There's so many things. So actually, once it's on the radar, people are pretty darn good and really recognize the value of those really diverse teams. And this is just another factor in a diverse team and a different perspective.
Agreed. So, how have you found it being a working parent in the industry?
Do you know what? It's been great, partly because I love my job. So that helps. I've got friends who, when we had our children going back to work, thinking, oh, please don't make me go back. I was like skipping in, hard leaving her, but skipping in, loving the thing. I got some really good advice from, I mentioned Karen earlier, but she is good for advice a long time ago, where she said, you know how often parents say to kids, well, if you want nice things and you want to go on holiday,
Yeah,
then I
yeah.
have to go to work. And actually, kids don't care. They'd go camping in a field and roll around in the mud, wouldn't they? And she said, she used to say to her daughter, who's now at university, so way past all of this, but you know how you like going to school and you like seeing your friends and you like learning things and it's interesting and fun? That's why I go to work. And I love that, a message. I like going to work. It's okay to like your job. Because otherwise, we're teaching our kids that work is always bad. And for a lot of us, it isn't, is it? A lot of us get a lot of satisfaction, not just in our industry, in all sorts of industry from our job. And I love the principle of saying to them, like your job, enjoy going. Doesn't mean I love you any less and I don't want to spend any time with you. But um, I just think it's a lovely positioning with them. So, yeah, I try and think of that it actually fills me up. And I think I'm a better parent for a bit of space.
That is such an interesting reframing. And I am really guilty of saying, well, If you want new shoes,
Yep.
well, if you want ballet lessons, which ironically she doesn't anymore, why
Yeah,
we're
we've
all
all
killing
been there.
ourselves over it. Yeah, because actually it grounds them into something other than the material as well, and into your life is about creating experiences that you can enjoy and that build you up, and work can be
Definitely.
part of that experience rather than I just work to buy stuff and we'll just buy into consumer culture.
Yeah. Go and do a job you really enjoy, even if it's paid a bit less. It's okay.
Marvellous. I shall use that later and see how I get on. I'll let you know. Uh, Now, how does the advertising community lift you up?
Well, I think a lot of the things that we've already talked about today. So, having a job you really enjoy, the diversity of people, characters, personalities, um, the range of ages and experiences. I just think it's so rewarding and fulfilling being around all these smart, clever, creative people who just have such different um, perspectives. And I think also I love the fact that we're such a huge part of culture. So even if your friends don't know exactly your part of the job, or you don't, I'm looking out across my office and think, "Well, would my scheduling team think they're part of culture?" But actually, they are, because
Yeah,
without them, the whole process doesn't work. And we've got films like Wicked for Good coming up. The whole world will turn pink and green. If that's not culture, I don't know what is. And they're part of delivering that. So I think whatever your role is in the business, you're delivering that. You're delivering the stuff that people are talking about and enjoying, and um, adds to the creativity of our both our country and our children and whatever. So I think there's a lot to be said. We're often on the down about our industry and the consumerism and but there's a joy to it, and I just think that that's one of the reasons I come to work.
listen, you tell your scheduling people that my daughter is obsessed by Wicked. We've got the Wicked 2 release date in the calendar. She has a Glinda fancy dress costume, and this house will turn pink and green. So they are massively influential.
Yeah,
Everything is Wicked.
exactly.
Finally, and I can't believe we've already reached the last question, but we have, and it's been a very joyful, uplifting conversation, which is proof yes, you can enjoy your job. It's okay. Um, what's one thing you've learned about how to support yourself? I mean, is it the fact that you've got a job on that, and in and of itself, because you have a job that you love, does that support you?
I think it does, and I think sometimes, thinking about checking your privilege of even on a bad day, it's a good job. We're lucky that we can support ourselves and our children and our lifestyles, and even amongst the stress and strains of it all. But I think the thing I've really learned is to think about what you can remove. So, you know how cathartic it can be when you clear out that cupboard in the kitchen that's got all the rubbish in it, or, you have a little declutter of a wardrobe, or whatever it is. It is that drawer in the
Yeah.
kitchen that
Can I
just springs
just
to mind.
say,
But
when my team say, "What did you do over the weekend?" and I say I cleared out a drawer, they know that I've had the best weekend ever because I live for that.
But it's so
It
cathartic,
really
and
is.
it brings you, just a slight peace, which is nuts considering you're throwing out old pens, let's be
Yeah, yeah,
honest, but
yeah.
it's very cathartic, and I think if you think about that as a principle and what it does for you, where can you do something similar? So what's the thing you can remove and just leave a space? Because the joy of clearing out that cupboard is it's not just tidy, but there's less in it.
Yep,
Take something out. So you were saying, why are we battling with ballet lessons when she doesn't really want to do them? Let's take that out. But let's not just instantly fill it up with something else.
exactly.
I- It's the gap. And I'm not a natural at it. I'm good at throwing stuff out, but I am let's keep going and do this and add something else in. And it's like, just take a breath and try and get some space in there. And it's taken me a long time to appreciate the value of, frankly, doing nothing. I
Yes.
can't do it for very long, but it is so good for you. Sit and have a cup of tea.
Yes. Rest
Watch
is
the
a
rain,
revolution.
isn't it? So yeah, declutter something. One thing would be the thing that I've learned makes the biggest difference overall.
It's absolutely brilliant. So, your one takeaway, apart from donate to NABS, let's make it two takeaways. Donate to NABS. Look at your schedule and see what you can take out this week, and then enjoy the space that's left.
Absolutely.
Well, I actually feel refreshed and recharged after that, Davina. I'm off to go and look at my calendar and see what I can hammer out. Thank you so
Start
much.
deleting like crazy.
Can't wait to get onto that delete button. You've been an absolute joy. And can I just say about trainer socks, I wear them too. And I can't get my head around the visible sock thing, but I understand the younger people in our industry are very much appreciative of them. So you do you.
And they've got warmer ankles than us.
There's a lot to be said. There's a lot to be said for that. Davina, you've been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for all the support you give to NABS, and thank you for sharing all of your insights and wisdom today.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Take care.